Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm gonna begin with my case study number one. You're gonna have to tilt your head a little bit to take a look at the form that we have in here. This person has several issues that most of them seem to be related to prana and to stress and anxiety. What I found out when we discussed is that he has really low prana, low energy throughout the day. So that's one of the things that he really wants to improve. And at the same time, I noticed that he has a huge amount of anxiety building up. It's somebody that even though he speaks very at a very paced level, he just seemed that his mind was running uncontrollably. So when I discussed it with him, he said, "Yes, I can't stop thinking about things. It's like everything, it's revolving around my head." So I asked him to tell me a bit more about his life recently, what have been, if there have been any changes, if he has been a little stressed for any reason, and he explained that. For the last several months, he's been studying at night as well as working to change his career. So that's one of the reasons why he hasn't been sleeping a lot. He has been very putting a lot of pressure on himself. And at the same time, he managed to change his career. He graduated. He found another job, and he was in the process of leaving the existing job, which was 100% in a computer the whole day, versus the new one that's going to allow him to have a little break from the computers if he will continue working with computers and machinery. But that's going to change. So that's one of the things that he was very excited about. At the same time, he recently got engaged, so they're planning a wedding. And at the same time, as if that wasn't enough, he was moving out of his apartment to move into the new house that they obtained with his fiancée. So obviously, that's when he told me all that, I thought, well, that's more than enough reason for most of the anxiety, stress, and fatigue that he's experiencing. And regarding his Agni form, I have it over here, but I didn't send it. So let me just review that quickly. So his Agni, it seems pretty stable. He actually has 3 to 4 bowel movements a day, so that doesn't seem to be a problem. But he does declare having a lot of gas, flatulence, and bloating. So I checked with him if he has any heartburn or reflux, because he told me that he likes spicy foods, but he does not suffer from that. He considers his own digestion pretty fair. He does not feel sleepy after eating, but he feels a bit heavy. And yeah, one of the main issues that he had on Agni perspective was actually too much gas, too much flatulence, and too much bloating. So that's something that he will definitely like to get rid of, to avoid. And when I asked about his stools, he said that they were soft, but not too soft, just soft enough with a shape. So that seems to be more or less normal, more or less stable. One of the other things he mentioned is that sometimes, not all the time, but a couple of times a year, he gets some rashes in the back of his legs. He says it's not very common, and it seems to be more in the summer months. So I will think that that's sort of his pitta maybe reacting. He mentioned that he has delicate skin, so he takes care of himself. he apparently, when he stays in the sun for too long, he gets very red. So he has a little bit of sensitivity to the sun in his eyes and his skin. But other than that, it seems okay. It's not dry or anything like that. But he did mention he has a couple of rashes from time to time behind his legs. So based on all this, I prepared a protocol for him. He was very, very excited about changing all of this. First of all, because he is changing his job and he was finishing the move, so he's feeling like it's a new beginning for him in his life. So he was very, very excited, and he asked me very intently to please give him a listed protocol, something that he could keep in his house, review on a daily basis, and aim to follow each and every one of the steps that I had to recommend for him based on the symptoms that he's suffering. So I asked him, or I gave him, as you can see in the protocol, one of the first things to assist with to relieve his anxiety and stress is the ashwagandha herb. The second one, I asked him to add some ghee to his meals. I also asked him to add a lot of soups to the diet if it was possible to begin his meals with. And by the way, I didn't mention that this is a person that eats a lot of frozen foods. When I asked him about his diet, he informed that he eats a lot of frozen meals because he's always on the go. He doesn't have a lot of time. He mentioned he has tried in the past to eat better, and he says that when he eats fresh meals and soups and stews, he feels a lot better. So he could totally relate to the point of frozen foods in general also taking energy from him rather than providing energy as meals are supposed to do. They're supposed to fuel us, right? So I asked him to add some soups, and at the same time, because of the sensitivity of his skin, and I told him whenever he feels like his skin gets dry, he said in summer it tends to happen a little, in winter as well. So I asked him to use some sesame oil whenever he feels that his skin is not feeling smooth or nice enough, and it feels dry. And I told him just to be precautious to add, sorry, to avoid the parts where he has a sensitive skin or the rashes he was mentioning he has from time to time. I asked him to avoid the sesame oil in those parts, and to use the coconut oil instead. Um, sorry, 1 second. And then at the same time, I asked him to attempt to create a routine that allows him to go to bed at the same time every day. He said that changes a lot due to circumstances and his studies. But he's really ready to attempt to create a routine for himself. Apparently, they don't have a TV. He doesn't have a TV at home, and he does not do any social networks either. So I told him to, before going to bed, if it was possible for him to attempt to do some gentle breathing exercises for a couple of minutes, 3 to 5 minutes before going to bed, and if it was possible as well, to do it again upon waking up, before starting his day, to try and keep his mind, a little calmer, and help with all the stress and anxiety that he's experiencing as well. And among the things to avoid, I suggested for him, first of all, to avoid the caffeine, because he mentioned that he drinks 5 to 6 cups of coffee a day at the same time to keep himself going, especially in the morning and around after lunchtime. At the same time, I suggested that he avoid frozen meals. to avoid leftovers. He also said that he's pretty big on leftovers. So that was something else that we discussed as well when we talked about energy and prana. And at the same time, I told him to avoid leftovers. To avoid raw foods temporarily. And what I meant with that was to, at this time, to not make raw food the entire meal. As I said before, I did ask him to add soups because he was telling me that in an attempt to eat better, at times he was eating pretty big salads, fully raw, which can be very good for a person that's in a good balance and has a stable acne. But not in his case. I think it will be beneficial for him to add more soups, to add more cooked foods, and to have raw foods like salads or fruits additional to his meal as a side, but not as 100% of his meal. So I don't know, Manjulali, if you want me to go through anything else, if you have any questions for me.
Yeah, so we will have a few questions and comments. Dr. Kirti, do you have comments?
Yes, actually, I do have a few questions. Can you just go back to the case study form? Yes, thank you. So, uh, from what you have told about the case study, so your evaluation is that person is suffering from high Agni. So, is it true, or you want to switch over to the irregular Agni?
I felt that he had a pretty stable acne, and except the fact that he gets a lot of bloating and gas. But it seemed to me that he was really content, and he felt very positively about his bowels and his digestion in general, except for the bloatedness and the gas flatulence. Is that
Oh.
something that I should be worried about, because he's mainly a Vata person and he has more of a Pitta sort of digestion?
Because the thing is, your symptoms and your findings are not matching. That's why I'm just trying to correlate
Oh,
with it. Because
okay.
when you say he's having issues with the gas, bloating, they are more comes towards the Vata type of Agni, that is irregular type of Agni.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes he has a like strong appetite, sometimes he's having a not so strong appetite, and at that time he gets the gases and uh, irregular bowel movements.
Right. In
And
my form, I think I highlighted a pana. Yes, due
yes,
to the gas.
okay. And one more thing, you mentioned that he's having some skin rashes. So are they they come in the like pitta time of the day or pitta season, or like they are more prominent in summer, or they come all throughout the year?
Dr. Kirti, she said it's happening only in the summer. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of pitta issues here as well. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at it, I am seeing that insomnia is happening. His sadhak pitta is obviously, so this guy is getting married, moving house, drinking a lot of coffee. I mean, what are the causative factors? And what are the main complaints? Has fatigue, low prana, anxiety. His samana is, I believe if you look at his tongue, there'll be some malabsorption there as well. And if you look at the Agni, I mean, you have low appetite, you have 3 to 4 bowel movements, you have heat rashes in the summer, you have, so there's a lot of Vayu and Pitta issues happening here. And I would say even Pitta is not 2, I would say Pitta is actually 3. So I would say V4P3. And how is Kapha become 2? Kapha
That's
Prakriti is, I don't know. Kapha is actually reduced. We need to increase kapha. So, Barbara, my question, are you understanding where I'm coming from?
Yes.
So if you look at this person, you said Prakriti is V3, P2, K1. Okay, I get that. Vata has increased, but this Pitta is also high as well. I mean, I would put his brain is all over the place. I mean, there's too much happening that I would, I would attribute that to sadhaka. And then V4, P3, pitta has increased, and why is K become 2? Kapha has actually decreased. It's either equal or decreased. I would even say, so I want to know how you reach the, so this has gone up. This has gone up. And this has gone down.
Now the high Agni will make sense and the heat rashes will fit into the.
So I think the issue was only that Barbara, do you have something to say?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was saying that basically the Prakriti and the Vikruti established it based on him answering the questions from the formulary, basically, and his pita was always the same number on both of them. So that's why I kept it the same. But I see what you mean. Based on his symptoms, I should have put it higher because there's obviously several PETA issues affecting him. And the reason why he's CAFA is too, it's just because he had a couple extra points in the CAFA questionnaire on the total numbers. But yeah, I didn't really review it that way. But I see now what you mean about that, about Vata being 4 and P3 and CAFA going down.
Thank you, Barbara. So I would also that Samana Vayu is an issue because of the gas, because gas is usually happening because of in the intestine. So I would say, also giving something like Vashta. I do like your protocols; they're pretty nice. And that's about it. And the case study too, we can also discuss it on the forum as well.
Okay, thank you.
I do like the good job.
Thank you.
All right. So Sarita, you're next. Sarita, are you there? It's all yours if you could tell us about this.
Okay, so my case study was a 39-year-old male, and he's a very creative entrepreneur, adventurous. He travels a lot. Um, and I did ask him more things about his personal life and everything, what his relationships are like, and with family and people and all of that. So he's got a good relationship with his mom, but he didn't with his dad. And his, relationship is kind of okay with his sister. He travels a lot, and that's a lot due to his work, but he also likes to be in new places. So he actually hasn't really lived in the same place for a long time throughout his whole life. And he's very sensitive and intuitive. And one thing I did get is a main source of emotional, upset in his life is that he has a daughter that he doesn't have a relationship with. The mother will not allow him to have the relationship, and he's actually not met his daughter. I think she started maybe elementary school, kindergarten last year. And then I asked him also about his, and also going to his Agni. Um, his digestion is good and his appetite is strong. Yeah, like it, yeah, I think that could go in the health concerns with his emotional stuff about his daughter and not meeting her. I can tell that that affects him a lot. Also, so with his Agni, he's got good digestion. His appetite is strong. He does feel heavy after eating, and I don't know about sleepy. I wasn't sure that if tired and sleepy are kind of in the same category. And he does have gas and flatulence. And a food of discomfort for him is fruit in the morning. He says that if he eats fruit in the morning, sometimes he'll have an upset stomach. And his bowel movements, he says that they're regular, but I was leaning more to irregular the way he explained it to me. And he has bowel movements 2 to 3 times a day. And I think he goes in the morning at some point, maybe later in the morning, and then late afternoon is what he said is kind of around the times. And the stools are variable consistency. And then on his Mala Pariksha, I got that he's Tikshnagni, and he does have Ama on his tongue. And then another big health concern is during his stressful times at work, he gets painful fluid filled like sores in his mouth and on his limbs. And that's been a big problem for him, and it's always around the time of his work season. He also is prone to cold sores on his lip when he has too much stress. And he's been dealing with chronic lower back pain, which happened to him when he was 19 due to a ski racing accident. And he's not, he's doing a lot better, a lot better, but he still deals with some chronic pain issues there. And then he also has very dry skin, and lately he said he's been getting pimples on his upper back, and he's also been getting some dandruff, which he normally does not get. And then I think we can scroll down on the form a bit. He has, so with his eating habits, he tends to he has a strong appetite, but he resists the urge of eating. Like he doesn't actually eat on time, or sometimes he skips meals, and then he gets very hungry and then eats too much in one meal. And when I was asking about things he eats, he tends to like a lot of bread and grains and does crave sugar on a regular basis. And also he doesn't have any kind of routine. Like he's self-employed, so he tends to wake up late. He has a hard time getting out of bed, eats at different times of the day. And what I also noticed was that he either sleeps too little or too much. And he also drinks too much coffee at times and not enough water. And then also because he gets very caught up in his work, he doesn't exercise every day. And and then also again, he had a hard time talking about his daughter, and lately he's had excess phlegm in his throat, too much mucus. And then I think we can go to the next page, which is, hang on. Sorry, my computer is very slow and I'm having a hard time switching between stuff. Okay, so subdoshas. So I got Brajak Pitta as one of the areas affected. He has acne on upper back, skin texture is rough. During work stress, he gets medium-sized, painful, fluid-filled sores in his mouth and his limbs, cold sores on his lip during times. Sadik Pitta as well, lack of clarity and focus, difficulty processing emotions related to daughter, and father also has difficulty processing thoughts related to his business and work. Bachuk has difficulty digesting certain foods. I'm not sure if that's related to lack of digestive enzymes. And he feels tired after eating. And then we go to Vata, and his Pran is definitely low. Lack of clarity, feeling tired all the time. Movements of thoughts seems to also be affected, overactive mind. And then And then we've got Kapha. I had Gledek needs to eat large quantities of food to feel satisfied, experiences nervousness and insecurity in relation to his business, and experiences, due to his situation with his daughter. He eats a large dinner less than 3 hours before sleeping. And then Avalambak, I got chronic lower back pain and lethargy, and Tarbak, excess mucus in the throat. And then my protocol for him, I didn't want to go do too much for him because he's kind of with his daily routine and everything, he's very like all over the place. So I did recommend the Pitta pacifying diet for him, and on the form, I've just mentioned some suggestions that I did give him. I also asked him to reduce his coffee intake and start drinking teas instead. And I was trying to get a feel for what he naturally likes, So he did mention that he likes mint and chamomile tea. So I asked him to start drinking that instead of the coffee, throughout the day. And then also the the cumin, coriander, and fennel kashaya that we learned about. I asked him if he would be able to do that and drink that. And then he should reduce his food portions and start eating his 3 meals a day. For daily routine, he obviously needs to really get on one. On the Pitta daily routine, which I've outlined in the form. His daily routine, though, is so out of balance that I think he would feel, extremely overwhelmed by adopting one, and that may make him not want to do anything at all. So I just recommended for now getting to bed no later than 11, eating dinner between 6 and 7, and really just aiming to eat his 3 meals a day. He in his daily routine he would really benefit from meditation, but I think at this point it'll be too much for him, and it might also scare him off a little. He also needs to really cut back on his time on the computer and phone, but this is a really strong habit for him, and so I think that might come a little bit later. He also, one thing I did say he absolutely does have to incorporate is the self abhyanga with coconut oil, and he could do this for his scalp as well because he's got the issue with the dry scalp and dandruff happening. And then exercise, I did ask him to start doing yoga because he actually does like to do yoga, so I recommended, a calming kind of yoga practice for him because his overactive mind needs some calming. He also lives near a really beautiful beach, so I recommended that he either do the yoga, or get out for a walk every day by the beach. So I mainly just asked him to start eating the Pitta diet, sleeping by 11, dinner by 7, reduce coffee, daily yoga and walks in nature, self abhyanga, and try to stop looking at his phone and computer about an hour before bed, see if he can start working his way towards that. I think these suggestions would be realistic for him right now. And then once he sees he starts feeling better, he'll, be more motivated to make other changes. So I think that is everything.
Wow, excellent work, Surita. I'm very impressed. So, Dr. Kirti, do you have anything before I?
Uh, yeah, actually, she did really great job with the case study. Uh, it's she has actually covered entirely everything. In the protocol, I just like to add one thing for his mouth sores. You can advise him to put the mixture of ghee plus turmeric and a little bit of grounded sugar. Just mix it all together and put on the inside of the mouth. So it helps to heal the sore wounds. So this remedy is very simple and it really works very well. So you can advise that. And with the kashayas, I will suggest instead of hot infusions, try to go with the cold infusions because they will have like a more pitta pacifying effect on him. So you can advise like cold infusion of mint leaves, and you can add cardamom and fresh cilantro leaves to it. Just put it overnight and then ask him to drink it in the morning throughout the day. So these two remedies will be helpful. And you can definitely increase more dairy portion in his diet, so his agni will be more satisfied with lots of milk and ghee products. Apart from this, everything you have covered very nicely. A really great job.
Hi, Surya. It's Monica. So I really love what you've done, and you've actually covered everything within the scope of the course. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to add one thing which is actually not even in the scope of the course, as you mentioned that there was ama and the phlegm. Was the ama, did you mention that it was whitish and yellow in color? Was it? That's what you said? Um, yeah, so, I mean, obviously he has, there's a lot of stuff going on, and going with the pitta pacifying diet and baby steps is the right way to go. But, because you didn't sound sure whether the pitta was the right way to go, but if you look at the ama is a little yellow tinge. So whenever you have a little bit of a yellow tinge on the tongue and the ama, that is pitta kind of ama. So there's a lot of heat in the body, which is what's giving rise to the cold sores in the mouth. You said pimples in the back, so that's an issue in the rasadhatu. If you were to ask him what are the color of his stools, I wouldn't be surprised if he said it's a little bit yellow and it's a little bit loose. And you said it's variable consistency. And the dry skin could also be because of vata and also pitta, because exactly. So it's definitely right thing to do was the pitta pacifying diet here. Just wanted to give you a little bit more confidence. And another thing was that if you looked at his eyes, they would also have, this is something for block 2, but I just kind of wanted to add that. So it's really, really nice. As far as the computer and the telephone is concerned, there's one thing, I think daily routine should not be like at the end. If he could make one or two changes from the daily routine, and he'll feel so good about it that he'll want to make more changes. Just one or two little things that he can. I mean, if you can incorporate that, you really, really. I mean, he's all over the place. His sadhak pitta is completely gone, and he's probably living on stimulating energy drinks here. There's so much happening in this case. I don't know where you are. We have another Ayurveda practitioner. She is also a psychologist and a dean of university, and she's in Toronto, I think. And I would love to put you in touch with her. She graduated from our college, and so she's fantastic with Ayurveda courses with mental issues. Ayurveda issues and mental issues together, not something I'm great with. But yeah, I would definitely love to put you in touch with her, even though she's on the other side. And all her patients seem to be Indians as well, because she's in Toronto. And so really, really good work. And his, Agni seems to go from Visham Agni to Tikshna Agni, but I think this is the right thing to do. And also the last thing I wanted to mention here is, even though this is a Pitta pacifying diet, both Pitta and Kapha have the astringent and the bitter in common. So his Kapha is also a little high. Kapha is, Ama is Kapha, right? Okay. Here we go. Any questions?
Actually, yeah, I actually just typed it in. Do you think in his Vikruti, I could change his kapha to 2 to increase it? Was feeling maybe I should change it to a 2, because that increased, like you were just saying.
Well, in his case, his kapha is increased, and we do need to reduce both the pitta and kapha. But the diet that you've given, the astringent and the bitter taste, is common to both of them. And I would say he definitely needs a detox. And just eating bitter green leafy vegetables, Karela juice, bitter melon. What else you have given? I mean, I don't think you meant to, but you've given a perfect diet without meaning to. I mean, I have actually.
Okay, great. That works for me.
That works for you. Okay. No, I would say you're ready to start seeing people, and I would love it if you guys. I mean, Barbara, you also did a great job. You guys should continue. Don't say
That's
that
my
to
plan.
everybody.
I want to continue
Yeah.
working with you.
Okay, let's see. Like for example, the ghee is going to help the vayu, the vata. It's going to calm him down. If he's not open to putting oil on his head for dandruff and so on and so forth, even if he could use a little bit of aromatherapy to calm himself down. The green leafy asparagus, cucumbers, sweet potatoes, zucchini, broccoli. If you could add a little bit of more bitter greens, bitter stuff like spinach, you could add. So zucchini is sweet, broccoli is cruciferous, so it's astringent. Um, yeah, onions might have to go. Goodbye onions, but you can have green onions instead.
Oh, okay. Green.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if he likes chutneys, but really good food can. And also, I don't know what the weather is like there, but I would even suggest maybe taking a little bit of probiotics. Um, because he does have ama, and for a pitta kind of ama, probiotic is the best thing. But because if it's cold there up where you are, then I would not suggest lassi or yogurt, but then taking, yeah. Chutney is great. Coriander chutney, cilantro chutney is excellent. I would just give him, start him off with amalaki as well, and start him off with some herbs as well. That I'll email it to you. So really great job. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
So they're planning a wedding, and at the same time, as if that wasn't enough, he was moving out of his apartment to move into the new house that they obtained with his fiancée. So obviously, that's when he told me all that, I thought, well, that's more than enough reason for most of the anxiety, stress, and fatigue that he is experiencing. And regarding his Agni form, I have it over here, but I didn't send it. So let me just review that quickly. So his Agni, it seems pretty stable. He actually has 3 to 4 bowel movements a day, so that doesn't seem to be a problem. But he does declare having a lot of gas, flatulence, and bloating. So I checked with him if he has any heartburn or reflux, because he told me that he likes spicy foods, but he does not suffer from that. He considers his own digestion pretty fair. He does not feel sleepy after eating, but he feels a bit heavy. And yeah, one of the main issues that he had on Agni perspective was actually too much gas, too much flatulence, and too much bloating. So that's something that he will definitely like to get rid of, to avoid. And when I asked about his stools, he said that they were soft, but not too soft, just soft enough with a shape. So that seems to be more or less normal, more or less stable. Um, one of the other things he mentioned is that sometimes, not all the time, but a couple of times a year, he gets some rashes in the back of his legs. He says it's not very common, and it seems to be more. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm gonna begin with my case study number one. You're gonna have to tilt your head a little bit to take a look at the form that we have in here. This person has several issues that most of them seem to be related to prana and to stress and anxiety. What I found out when we discussed is that he has really low prana, low energy throughout the day. So that's one of the things that he really wants to improve. And at the same time, I noticed that he has a huge amount of anxiety building up. It's somebody that even though he speaks very at a very paced level, he just seemed that his mind was running uncontrollably. So when I discussed it with him, he said, "Yes, I can't stop thinking about things. It's like everything it's revolving around my head." So I asked him to tell me a bit more about his life recently, what have been, if there have been any changes, if he has been a little stressed for any reason, and he explained that for the last several months he's been studying at night as well as working to change his career. So that's one of the reasons why he hasn't been sleeping a lot. He has been very putting a lot of pressure on himself. And at the same time, he managed to change his career. He graduated. He found another job, and he was in the process of leaving the existing job, which was 100% in a computer the whole day, versus the new one that's going to allow him to have a little break from the computers if he will continue working with computers and machinery. But that's going to change. So that's one of the things that he was very excited about. At the same time, he recently got engaged, or in the summer months. So I will think that that's sort of his pita maybe reacting. He mentioned that he has a delicate skin, so he takes care of himself. He apparently, when he stays in the sun for too long, he gets very red. So he has a little bit of sensitivity to the sun in his eyes and his skin. But other than that, it seems okay. It's not dry or anything like that. But he did mention he has a couple of rashes from time to time behind his legs. So based on all this, I prepared a protocol for him. He was very excited about changing all of this. First of all, because he is changing his job and he was finishing the move, so he's feeling like it's a new beginning for him in his life. So he was very excited, and he asked me very intently to please give him a listed protocol, something that he could keep in his house